There is something strange about the places where water keeps taking lives. At first, they do not look evil. Drayton Dam, Fossil Creek Waterfall, Skinner's Falls, Hanakapi Beach, Lake Ronkonkoma, Lake Lanier, Lake Powell, Lake Mead, Kern River Canyon, and Niagara Falls all look different on a map, but if you listen closely, they seem to tell the same story. The water is beautiful first. Calm, bright, inviting. A lake's surface shines like glass. A waterfall glows blue in the sunlight. A river bends through the trees, smooth and peaceful near the shore. A beach sits beneath cliffs so beautiful it almost feels unreal. A canyon river roars below the rocks, loud enough to sound alive. And that is where the danger begins. Because in these places, the water does not always look deadly. Sometimes it looks safe. Sometimes it looks shallow. Sometimes it looks like the kind of place where someone says, "I will only go in for a minute." Then something changes. A swimmer steps 1 foot too far. A current grabs the ankle. A waterfall pushes down from above. A low-head dam spins the water into a hidden machine. A river mouth pulls sideways. A lake wind pushes someone farther from shore. A cliff edge, a gorge, or a quiet black stretch of water suddenly feels less like nature and more like a doorway. And once that doorway opens, not everyone comes back. People explain these deaths with science, and they are right to do so. Cold shock, hidden drop-offs, recirculating currents, undertows, exhaustion, alcohol, panic, slippery rocks, sudden waves, and distance from rescue. These are real dangers. They kill people every year. But when the same places keep taking lives, people start asking darker questions. Why here? Why this bend in the river? Why this cove? Why this waterfall? Why this lake? That is when the superstition begins. At Lake Ronkonkoma, the old stories speak of the Lady of the Lake, a grieving spirit said to call men into the deep. At Lake Lanier, people whisper about flooded roads, old structures, black coves, and voices beneath the surface, voices that sound like people who never came home. At Kern River Canyon, the water does not whisper at all. It roars. And that famous fatality sign becomes something darker than a warning. It becomes a scoreboard, one number after another, counting the lives the river has claimed. At Niagara Falls, the spirit becomes mist, thunder, and gravity. It hides in the spray. It covers the edge. It drowns out the last warning before the water takes everything at once. Maybe there is no demon. Maybe there is no ghost. Maybe these places are dangerous because nature does not forgive mistakes. But folklore gives fear a face. And if there is a spirit behind these waters, then maybe it is not one ghost. Maybe it is one hunger, wearing different faces in different places. In one lake, it appears as a pale woman standing far out in the dark. In another, it becomes a voice calling from beneath a dock. In a river, it becomes the pull around the ankles. At a waterfall, it becomes the downward pressure that will not let go. And at the edge of a gorge, it becomes one terrible thought placed quietly into someone's mind. Come closer. Just look. One more step. These places draw people in because they are beautiful, famous, remote, sacred feeling, or thrilling. They make people confident. They make people believe they are in control. They make strong swimmers forget that water does not care how strong they are. That may be the most terrifying truth of all. The water does not need to hate you. It does not need to chase you. It only needs you to underestimate it. And after dark, the stories become even worse. Locals say the water changes its voice when the sun goes down. Near the lakes, someone hears a mother crying. Near the river, someone hears a friend calling from the rocks. Near the falls, someone feels a pull that is not only physical, but mental, as if the mist itself is whispering into their thoughts. Maybe those are only tricks of wind and moving water. Maybe grief leaves echoes in the places where people took their last breath. Or maybe every drowning gives the spirit another voice. And every voice becomes bait for the next person standing too close to the shore. So the warning is simple. Respect the water like it is alive. Wear a life jacket. Never swim alone. Stay away from dams, river mouths, waterfalls, fast currents, cliffs, and places locals warn you about. And if you ever stand near one of these places after sunset, when the trees turn black, when the shore goes quiet, when the water looks still enough to be listening, and you hear someone call your name from the dark, Do not answer, because whatever is speaking from beneath the surface may not want help. It may not want to be found. It may only want company. I'm going to name the top 10 most lakes and waterways that has taken the most lives. Starting at number 10, Drayton Dam, Red River, North Dakota. Drayton Dam on the Red River earned its place because low-head dams are among the most deceptively deadly water structures in the country. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers explains that low-head dams can create a recirculating hydraulic below the drop, pulling people and debris underwater and cycling them again and again, which is why these structures are often called drowning machines. USACE's Low-Head Dam history page specifically notes that Drayton Dam, built in 1964, had over a dozen fatalities before the Corps completed a modification and partial removal project in September 2024. The danger here was not dramatic height. It was the smooth, low, ordinary-looking wall of water that could trap swimmers, anglers, or boaters in a current that looks survivable from shore but becomes nearly impossible to escape once inside. Number 9. Fossil Creek Waterfall, Arizona. Fossil Creek Waterfall in Arizona is a beautiful turquoise swimming area, but the U.S. Forest Service warns that swimming and cliff jumping near the waterfall are extremely dangerous and have led to several drowning deaths and severe injuries. This is one of those spots where the beauty is part of the danger. Clear water, rock ledges, cold plunge pools, slippery footing, and crowds make people underestimate the risk. A person can jump, hit water awkwardly, become disoriented, get pushed by the falling water, or become exhausted in seconds. For a horror-style lake and river report, Fossil Creek is the perfect example of a place that looks magical in daylight but has a deadly pattern hidden beneath the surface. Number 8. Skinner's Falls/Upper Delaware River, New York, Pennsylvania. The Upper Delaware River region, including popular recreation sections like Skinner's Falls, has a long pattern of drownings tied to current, cold water, alcohol, tubing, boating, and people entering the river without life jackets. The National Park Service says that, on average, 2 people drown each year in the Upper Delaware River region, and also states that no one wearing a properly fitted life jacket has drowned while on or in the river there. That statistic is powerful because it shows the difference between a fun river day and a fatal one can be one simple decision. The scary part is that rivers like this do not need to look violent. They can appear wide, peaceful, and shallow, while still hiding fast channels, slippery rocks, foot entrapment hazards, and currents strong enough to pull even a confident swimmer downstream. Number 7. Henakapi Beach, Kauai, Hawaii. Henakapi Beach on Kauai's Naupali coast is infamous because it is remote, beautiful, and dangerous, with powerful surf, rip currents, and no easy road access. While I did not find an official single lifetime drowning total in the government sources I checked, Kauai Fire Department records show repeated emergency responses in the Henakapi area, including swimmer in distress calls and body recovery incidents. The beach is only reachable by trail or boat, which means rescue can be delayed and the ocean conditions can change fast. In practical terms, Henakapi is the kind of place where visitors can hike in, see paradise, step into the water, and realize too late that the beach is not protected like a normal swimming area. Number 6. Lake Ronkonkoma, Long Island, New York. Lake Ronkonkoma is famous for both drowning history and folklore. Local legend calls it a haunted lake connected to the Lady of the Lake, and the Ronkonkoma Chamber of Commerce notes old stories about swimmers stepping off from the beach into a deep hole, with ropes later used to warn swimmers. A New York Post feature reported at least 160 drownings between the mid to late 1800s and the late 1970s, though that figure is from historical/local reporting rather than a modern official database. What makes Ronkonkoma especially useful for your story is that it combines real swimming danger with a classic supernatural pattern: a specific lake, repeated deaths, a curse, a female spirit, and the idea that young men in particular were being claimed by something beneath the water. Number 5. Lake Lanier, Georgia. Lake Lanier is one of the most notorious drowning and haunting locations in the United States. It is a huge reservoir with wooded coves, heavy boating traffic, deep water, submerged structures, and a long public reputation for tragedy. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers reported that it suspended certain permit work in 2012 in response to a number of serious boating accidents and water-related deaths on Lake Lanier, refocusing staff on water safety outreach. USACE's broader mobile district also reported 21 public drownings in its waterways and recreation sites in 2022, showing how serious the regional water safety problem is. Lanier's haunted reputation, including Lady of the Lake stories, makes it one of the strongest real-world locations for the spirit of the lake angle, a beautiful lake by day, but by night, a place where the water feels like it remembers every name. Number 4. Lake Powell/Warm Creek Bay and Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, Utah, Arizona. Lake Powell is a massive desert reservoir inside Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, and specific areas like Warm Creek Bay have appeared in drowning reports. The National Park Service documented a 2021 drowning at Lake Powell where witnesses said a man slid from a rental houseboat, could not swim back because of wind, and was not wearing a life jacket. NPS also separately posted a drowning report for the Warm Creek Bay area in 2021 and a 2024 fatality in Wetherill Canyon. The danger at Lake Powell often comes from a combination of deep water, wind, houseboats, cliff-lined coves, distance from immediate help, and people underestimating how hard it is to swim back to a vessel. It looks like open vacation water, but the scale of the lake can turn a small mistake into a fatal emergency. Number 3. Lake Mead/Boulder Beach and Lake Mead National Recreation Area, Nevada, Arizona. Lake Mead National Recreation Area is one of the deadliest National Park Service units for overall fatalities, and drowning is a major part of the risk. NPS posted that in 2024 the park had already seen 19 fatalities by early July, including 4 drownings, and in another Lake Mead safety article NPS states that drowning is the #1 cause of death in national parks, and that Lake Mead NRA has never experienced a fatality from someone wearing a life jacket while recreating on the water. NPS also reported multiple drowning incidents in 2023, including 2 more drownings during one weekend and 2 drownings during Father's Day weekend. Boulder Beach and other popular swimming/boating zones are dangerous because wind, distance, heat, exhaustion, paddleboards, pool toys, and sudden rough water can move people farther from shore than they realize. Number 2. Kern River Canyon, California. The Kern River is one of the strongest examples of a specific U.S. waterway with a public running death count. Local reporting in 2025 said the Kern River fatality sign was updated from 335 lives lost to 342 lives lost since record-keeping began in 1968, reflecting 7 additional deaths in the prior year. The Kern County Sheriff's Office search and rescue page describes its Bakersfield SAR group as assisting with rescues and recovering drowning victims in the lower Kern River, the canyon, and nearby waterways. This river is deadly because it combines cold snowmelt, boulders, fast hydraulics, deceptively inviting swimming holes, and current that can pin or pull people under. The horror version practically writes itself, a roadside sign that keeps changing, one number at a time, while the river keeps roaring below the canyon walls. And the number 1 is Niagara Falls/Niagara River Gorge, New York. Niagara Falls is the highest-ranked location because its cumulative death history is enormous, though not all deaths are accidental drownings. Many reports include suicides, stunts, falls, and accidental entries into the water. A widely cited estimate says about 5,000 people have gone over Niagara Falls since the mid-1800s, while local officials have estimated 20 to 40 suicide deaths per year at the falls. For a drowning death ranking, it must be described carefully. Niagara is not a normal swimming hole or lake, but as a specific water danger location, its death count is unmatched in U.S. popular reporting. The danger comes from the massive volume of water, violent currents, slippery edges, the gorge, and the impossibility of survival once someone is swept into the main flow. It is not a haunted lake, but it is one of America's most terrifying water death locations, a place where the water does not pull gently. It takes everything at once. Thank you for your support, and thank you for tuning into our stories. Some are fiction and some are based on a true event. We would really appreciate it if you could like this video, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for a new story every day.